Hey everybody, welcome to this edition of Tournament Talk with Pellucid Travel. Our special guest today is Tom Simmons with Rochester Special Hockey. We're excited today to talk about adaptive sports and how they can provide a positive impact on their community. And so I want to get into a little bit. Like I said, my name is Jason Puckett. I'm Director of Business Development for Pellucid Travel. We're a third-party housing company that helps event organizers really manage the housing around their events, but we do a lot more than that as well. But really want to introduce Tom and talk about Rochester Special Hockey, specifically, and share their mission and how they're making an impact on the community. So to get started, Tom, I'll read your mission statement here to give people a little bit of a feedback on what it is you guys do, and always have you elaborate from there.
Okay.
Rochester Special Hockey, their mission is to provide training for ice hockey for players with developmental, cognitive, and physical disabilities in the Rochester, New York, and surrounding communities. And their goal is to allow those individuals with those physical, developmental, and cognitive disabilities to experience exciting fun while learning new skills, improve their athletic skills, socialization, while at the same time providing the value of therapeutic activity. So welcome, Tom. Really would love to just learn a little bit more about yourself, kind of what your background is and how you got started with Rochester Special Hockey.
Well, thank you, Jason, first of all, for doing this and
Yes.
for the wonderful opportunity this presents for us to talk to other people and get programs such as ours going. Getting back and looking at it, I've had a chance to reflect. We've been doing this is our 27th year. We started a long time ago with the program of Special Olympics. I had some young men and women that decided, and called young, they were late teens. They decided they wanted to learn how to skate. And then, progression led, because Rochester's a hotbed for hockey. They wanted to learn how to play hockey. And it was an interesting journey, if you want to call it that. We started, as I said, 27 years ago with 12 kids. And take no reference to this, but I call them all my kids. So that's just kind of the way I go.
Sure.
But we started 27 years ago. I was a coach in Special Olympics, volunteering. I have a son who has developmental disabilities, hearing impairment. So it was an automatic in. He and I had skated before as a family and things of that nature. And we just started the program, as I said, with 12 kids. And I think we still have 7 of those young men and women with us after the 27 years. So it's been interesting. It's been a journey. Our program has started with 12. This year we ended up with about 48.
Okay.
Prior to COVID, we were at 56. So it's a varying program. It's open to anybody in Monroe County, Wayne County, any of the surrounding areas. It's not just specific to Rochester.
And so what are the demographics of your athletes that are participating?
So our kids are anywhere from age of 5 years old up to 52.
Okay.
We have right now, out of the 48 that skated this year, we have 20 that are 25 and older. And we have 10 kids that are 12 and younger, and then the balance is in the middle.
Okay.
Skating ability does not matter. We have makeup of both male and female. Doesn't matter whether you want to come out. We teach you how to skate. Our organization has been lucky. We've been able to provide the equipment. We deal with all disabilities, from anybody on the autism spectrum. We deal with them. Mental retardation, which, it's kind of they don't want to call it that. They just call it developmental disabilities.
Sure.
We have 10 kids that are on the Down spectrum, line there. So we cover a broad base of people, and it's just been a lot of fun and enjoyable times.
That's awesome. So, you've been around for quite some time. I'm sure there's been an evolution of the program over time. And at the same time, you're a nonprofit organization. So you definitely need support to be able to keep growing and keep supporting your program. Can you share any support you've received from the local community, both public and private sector, over the years?
We have received benefits from various grants that we have applied for. Golisano Foundation has gifted us twice. Dick's Sporting Goods has, they did a grant for us last year, which really was it was really a helpful time because everything, numbers being down, it allowed us to put our year-end tournament on, which is a big thing that we do every year. We've had other grants and services from Wilson Foundation and from other organizations, and we've had private donations. This is an all volunteer organization. We have no paid staff. It's whatever comes up, somebody says, hey, I'll grab it and I'll run with it. And we've reached out through business contacts I've had in my past careers and in other people, and we just keep on. The community seems to be very helpful to us, and we receive some great benefits. Rochester Americans have helped us out in the past. We've been able to skate with their players, and they've come and joined us at a practice. We've seen benefits where our kids have gotten some free tickets to the Amherst games. So it's really been, when you look at support, and 501c3s or not-for-profits, you really need the community behind you at large in order to support that, in order to make that a viable program that continues to run year after year after year.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it sounds like you're getting support from private citizens, but also some major brands like Dick's Sporting Goods and, the hockey programs that you mentioned and getting tickets. Is it something where you have someone in your team that focuses on that fundraising efforts, or is everyone that is a volunteer and part of your board tasked with finding different ways to, generate, funds to support the program?
Yeah, that's a good question. Most of the fundraising or most of the grant writing, I've been doing that.
Okay.
It's something that I picked up on and just said, hey, we've got to look at this from a financial standpoint in order to keep our program continuing. The board has been very proactive in saying, here's an opportunity, and contacting some of their contacts out there in the business world and or into just their personal lives. Our kids do a great job, and so do our families. I mean, when we do something, if it's a fundraiser that's done by the program, it's very well attended by our players and their families. They donate, like we've done golf tournaments in the past. Families have donated prizes that we can use as part of a raffle, which has been helpful.
Sure.
For our tournament every year, we've done a tournament this was our 15th year. We lost a couple due to COVID, but we ended up with 14 teams and over 250, 300 players here from across the United States and Canada. And our families donate raffle gifts for that, which is a big portion of helping to support and sponsor the tournament.
Yeah.
So we're gaining that financial support. It's not an easy thing because there's a lot of different organizations that are out there looking and we'll call it kind of clamoring for the same dollars. But we've been fortunate that we've had some people that have really helped us, stepped up and taken care of us, and that's a big thing.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it sounds like, with raising children, right? It takes a village, they say, and it's
Yes.
like from you and your board members and community support, the parents being involved, that's what it takes. And the reason I asked that question is, there was recently at a conference and having the conversation about how to support more adaptive sports initiatives in their communities. And that was a pretty consistent theme there. So you mentioned the event, which I want to get back to. Are there some other ways that you fundraise on special events or other programs you do to help fundraise?
We've done some different things in the past. We've had, pancake breakfast. We've done some different aspects of, like I said, the golf tournament. We've done a softball event. We've done some different things that have worked in providing funding. One thing about being from a business and financial background, the one thing that we've always taken is that we're a very fiscal we're very frugal as far as an organization is concerned. We don't spend money, needlessly. But we do take care of our program and the kids that are within our program, and just trying to promote that.
Yeah, that's great. So thinking of different ways, softball tournament, golf tournament, I'm sure some other ways that you can drive, which is all smart to get funding back in. So going to that tournament. So on your website, it mentions, through game settings, tournaments, and travel, our players have the opportunity to meet new people from different areas, cities, and countries, developing new friendships and opportunities to continue in personal development as a core goal. I mean, that's awesome. That's a reason why my own daughters, they were in dance and gymnastics. I kind of said, hey, you're doing a team sport this year, because I wanted them to learn what it was like to have to rely on other people, create those relationships. So can you elaborate more on that, and how these tournaments that you've created or attending these, how that's really helped them in their growth?
Sure. We've been able to develop within our program and other programs that are similar to us across the spectrum here in the United States and our friends up in Canada. We take a focus that we're all looking at, what do we need to do to make the lives better for the young people that are playing within our organizations. And just personally, I have seen that interaction with different programs where we'll play them every year. We know who the coaches are, the families interact. It's, stepping back a minute, when you have a child who has a disability, there's no books that say, here, try this.
Right.
Everything is it's a throw a dart at a board and hopefully or throw it at the wall. Hopefully you get close to the target. The one thing that I've seen within the tournaments that we've attended, whether we've gone to Canada or gone to Ohio or New York, Washington, D.C. or whatever, and those teams that come to us, is that there's a platform that ends up being developed for parents that become friends via emails and Facebooks, and they're passing off little tidbits on what they can do for their kids. So I've tried this with, my son, and it didn't work. And somebody pipes up, and I've seen it right at the tournament. Oh, have you tried this? This worked. And there's all these ideas that are floated. But then you go back to the kid side, or you go back to the player side. And real quick story, I had a player with us that had joined our team, played a couple years, gone to a couple of tournaments, and had stopped and didn't play and for 2 years. And we continued going to the tournaments. And there was a couple of players up there that said, hey, is so-and-so, is Steve still playing for you? And I said, no, he didn't come back this year. Oh, darn. And we happened to go up to the tournament. Steve joined back onto our program. And one of the guys comes up and says, I've been waiting for you to come back to a tournament for 2 years. I remember when you broke your stick 2 years ago. I got a new stick for you.
Oh,
and
that's amazing.
You sit there and you look at that, and you go, holy cow. It's just, and with Facebook and with the other side of social media, our players are friends with kids from all over the country. And, they'll say at a practice, hey, I texted so-and-so, and I wanted to let you know this is what's going on with their family. So we're seeing that development. We're seeing them gaining maturity, developing social skills, which to me today are very lacking.
Right.
When you go away and you meet people, or people come into your program or come into the tournament, and they all sit down and they know you kind of from afar, you just see that development take place. Kids, we have young people in our program that become mentors to other people.
That's amazing.
And they're looked upon by those in our program and other programs. Hey, that's the captain from the Ice Cats, or that's so-and-so. This is one I was telling you about. He's a great guy. I fell down and he helped me up. You just get into these types of things where you see that, and step is worked on. It's worked on by the players. It's promoted by the coaches, and it's promoted by the families. They just see it as a development in their son or daughter's life that's a step forward. And those are the things that just keep coming back, and that keep drawing me back to it continually.
Yeah, it's listening to you, they're creating a network that they can rely on, both the athletes and the parents, to really help them in going through life, right? You know,
Yep.
being a sounding board for issues they may be facing. And it's so much easier when you can communicate with someone that knows exactly what you're going through and they can rely on each other. And so that's an amazing thing. And it's awesome that that's all done through sport, right?
Yep.
So with that said, I also noticed that you guys have a relationship with the American Special Hockey Association and USA Hockey. Can you elaborate how they're maybe helping you with your tournaments and, you know, just helping you with the program in general?
Well, I think that in support, it's more, you know, they give you a little bit of structure, so they're helping you with how best to run your program. We still all run our programs based on what we have, and it's also based on the philosophies that we have,
Sure.
making this sport an enjoyment for the players. Okay, American Special Hockey, which deals with nothing but teams of special needs, and was formed a while ago, is a great organization for promoting the sport as being, it's a sport. We all remember that, but it's also promoting the other sides of the sport side. Okay, as we talked about, it's promoting the relationship side, it's promoting all those, and making sure the value that we keep on the sport is solid. They do provide some financial support to us for our tournament, which is a solid, you know, that helps us out every year. So they are a great organization. I've sat on the board for a while and have just seen that organization grow and do really well. USA Hockey is another one that is a benefit to players with special needs. And they work in conjunction with various teams also in helping them to kind of make sure that the coaches are set from a certification standpoint, as American Special Hockey does. So there are two organizations that we have taken and said, all right, what are the, I hate to say this about anybody, but what are the good points and what are the points I don't want? Okay. Because you can write something and not everybody fits within.
Right.
So we've taken what's the best between those two organizations and said, what's the benefit and how's it going to drive our program and keep it as a strong, sustainable program moving forward?
Yeah.
So they've both been helpful, and they're helpful at different times.
Yeah.
But we still, anybody that's starting a program, you can, and I really am strong with this. If you're starting a program, make sure you understand why you're starting the program. You know, we talked a little bit earlier about, you know, in the future, you were at a conference. What's the purpose of the program? What audience do you expect to go to? And what benefit do you think you're going to provide?
Yeah.
And when you look at it, you have to look at it and go, okay, so how's that benefit going to be? It may fit Susie over here, but the benefit you think of is not going to fit Johnny over here.
Right.
So as you build your program, you take the best of what you've got, and then you adapt it into the program for the individuals. And as we do with our coaches and our players, and that, as we look at situations and say, how do I enhance that person's situation? So what may work for a player over on the left side of the rink doesn't work for a player on the right. So you've got to find out and add those tools into your toolbox in order to make the programs meet the benefit and make it fun for the players.
Yeah, that's great. And you kind of segued where I wanted to take this conversation next, because I'm hopeful that someone watching this that's considering starting a program or wants to support in their community, I think what you highlighted is first, as you're getting started, is to figure out your why, right?
Yep.
Why are you doing this? What is the purpose behind your organization? And then you can utilize the tools from you know, the American Special Hockey Association, USA Hockey, to support that. But it may not 100% align with what the goals are for your organization and your community. What other things should they consider when if planning a program, or what support will they need in order to really get off the ground successfully?
You have to, I think a big thing is, you know, as we talk about it, when we started, we looked at, you know, the segment of population that we were going to be dealing with. And it said, okay, we have to understand that they're not going to be with us forever. My wife and I just did a a little study of our own recently and said, how many kids have we touched in our program that have come through our program? How many lives did we address?
Right.
And it was somewhere up in the number of 500s, someplace in that. Over 26 years we've addressed. Doesn't mean they're with our program today, but they were at one time. But I think anybody that's starting out, the biggest thing is, what is it you're trying to accomplish? And it goes back to who is your audience? Who are you going to address? If you go, I'm going to take care of people that are in the autism area, okay, kids with autism or adults with autism. All right, what are the restrictions and what tools do I need in order to work with them? Right. And then what other agencies are around that I can draw in and I can get help from? We are big with New York State Parent to Parent, which is for people with individuals with developmental disabilities, whether they're autism, Downs, or whatever. And we'll use them and draw on some of their educational programs that they've got and send it out to our parent organization and even on to organizations within ASHA and others that say, hey, this is something you may want to look at for your own area. And there's been some great benefit from that. You're looking at, to get the program going, first you get your audience. Who am I going to be dealing with? And then you go, okay, who's going to help me? Because that becomes a big thing. You can't do it yourself. Like we said earlier, it takes a village. And, we ask for volunteers every year. We've had people that I know that have played hockey that have joined and just, it's funny because they'll come in the program and go, I can't teach these kids anything. They don't listen. And 2 years later, they're the biggest cheerleader out there. And so as people get involved, they're going to find out they have to understand that it's not about them. It's about what you're doing. And that's a big shift in what we do. We're going, well, I want to give them my knowledge for hockey. Well, you may only give them a little teacup of knowledge for hockey skill, but you'll make a big impact on their lives, because one thing I find with all the people that are in our program, or kids and others, is they know you forever. And they'll come up and talk to you in the mall, anywhere, on the street. Hey, coach, how you doing? And it doesn't matter whether it's here in Rochester, in Albany, New York, in Philadelphia, PA. If there's somebody that you've interacted with, they'll remember you.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you talked about the number of people you affected directly, but think about that web, right? That ripple effect of the families you helped affect, and then the people that they gained confidence and then went into that community and supported. And so we always think about in our industry, hey, how many heads and beds are there? How many people are going to be using a hotel room, or how much revenue is generated for the area? But doing something like this has a lasting effect on the community and helps the community just grow as a whole. And so I think that's a really good point in regards to just how much it can really affect. So you did talk about a little bit, are there some resources that folks can look at nationally, or really should they be looking at resources and organizations in their community first and then expand the footprint from there?
If it were me, rather than starting out nationally, you start out locally, because you're dealing locally. Again, what somebody does in Chicago versus what we do in Rochester is not the same.
Sure.
Resources are not the same. Different things affect different people or affect different communities. So you really need to look at local in your area. Like with American Special Hockey, we have I think there's like 115 teams or programs in the United States. And that's every state, Alaska, every place. So you can contact the national, and they're going to tell you this is a close program and you need to, and then they'll reach out to that program and say, hey, this is a program that's starting a similar, they're starting a hockey program. Do you have any resources you can send over? I'm one of the resources that go out and talk to new programs and get started. So, somebody says, hey, I want to start a program. Okay, let's sit down, let's have a phone call, pick my brain. Let's see what we got to do. Well, I don't know how to go about getting ice. I don't know. There's a lot of things that you determine, you know, how long's my first year going to be? How long are my sessions going to be? How many aides do I need to have? How many assistants do I need on years? All these things, and that's just looking at that portion of it. And then it goes, okay, so what kind of organization do you want? Do you want to be a 501c3? Do you want to be a for-profit? Do you want to connect with another hockey organization? So, and I'm specific to hockey. So, but I think you would do the same things with all the other adaptive sports. It's not, you know, the people that I've talked to when we've been at shows, if you would call them that, or an opportunity to present to the public, we're kind of all lumped together when it comes to sports. And there's always adaptive sporting groups that are there. And we talk and we talk about the ideas we've had, and I find that they're very similar, and all the approaches have been very similar. So yeah, phone, sorry.
That's okay. I'm sure there's noise in the background here from me. I got a daughter who's sick at home today.
They'll just go, okay, so there's Clint Eastwood. Been very similar. You know, so you need to look at those, and I would do it more on a local level, because that's where your resources are.
Yeah.
It doesn't do you much good if you're in, like I said, if you're out in Phoenix and I'm in Rochester, you go, oh, we want to mirror Rochester. Okay, I can get on a plane and go out, but I'm only going to be there for 4 or 5 hours or a weekend. Right. That's it.
There are some things you may be able to help with, but really you've got to understand what your community is and build from there. So I've heard some themes here, you know, definitely figuring out your why, right? Mm-hmm. Understanding and getting a core group of people to help you start the program and build it. Mm-hmm. Leaning on local resources, local organizations that support the community you're trying to serve. And then, you know, you build from there, right? You then add on layers of fundraising, events that you may do, support from brands like you had mentioned, Dick's Sporting Goods, which is fantastic. And that'll really help you in growing the core of your program. Anything else in that little summary I did there that I missed that someone should consider if and when they start a program?
You know, it's so hard to give that. I'll be honest, if anybody ever wanted to pick my brain, they're more than welcome. Yeah. You have my contact details, so.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think, like you said, even though you're in the sport of hockey, there are things that you could probably help them with, things to avoid, things.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a whole nother video session.
That's a whole nother video and conversation. You know, I wanted to share, you know, speaking with Shannon and our team and sharing what the great things she has to say about your program, and coming back from that conference, realizing that adaptive sports is really an underserved community from a tourism perspective, and to know that you're running these tournaments. And I think I'd seen that you run the friendship tournament, which sounds amazing, that there is opportunities for these communities, these destinations to get involved. And maybe that is with an established organization, or maybe even starting something on their own that they can really lean into. And so I appreciate your time. And I think that people will get some value from this and understand what it takes to run a program. And I can see it on your face, and I can hear it when you talk. You're getting a lot more value out of this than I think some people would even realize. And you're creating a legacy, which is something that I think all of us strive to do with our lives. So I appreciate your time, Tom, and I'm looking forward to sharing this with colleagues. And I appreciate you also being willing to offer any support. I'm sure there'll be some folks that'll follow up from this. So
anytime, Jason. I'm glad we had the opportunity to do this.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you.